So in this video, we are going to talk about intuition and the four clairs. Are looking to begin your spiritual journey or deepen your connection with yourself and spirit, your intuition is one of the very first things that you want to start to work on. And the reason why is as you go into the path of self-understanding and self-discovery and connecting that with spirit, it can seem a little weird. It's going to be a lot of things that you've never encountered that people don't often talk about. And so in order to trust what is happening in you and around you, you need to trust your inner guidance system. Secondly, spirit does not always or often speak our language, which is literally the language that we speak. You know, spirit doesn't always show up, ring your doorbell, hey, can I come in, sit down for some tea and talk to you about some things. It doesn't really happen like that. How spirit usually connects with us is through our intuition, through our emotions, through our thoughts, basically in non-tangible ways. And if you aren't used to communicating like that, which most of us aren't, then it is really easy to dismiss your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions as just something that you're imagining or creating, or really just overlooking those things as just a coincidence. And if you do those things, then you're actually disregarding and disconnecting from your inner self and from spirit, and you will miss a lot of important information and insight. That's why it's really important as one of your first steps around your spiritual journey is to work on understanding, translating, and using your intuition. So what are the four clairs and how do they tie in? So the four clairs, as is commonly known in spiritual communities and with spiritual folk, is just the four primary ways that we receive our intuitive messages. I'm going to go over these with you to give you a better understanding and so that you can use this information to start to understand how your own intuition works so that you can start building and strengthening that, as well as translating the messages when you receive them. So let's start with Claircognizant. Claircognizant is one of the most tricky of the four clairs. And the reason why is Claircognizant is clear knowing or just knowing something. And that's why it's really tricky, because it can almost feel like your very own logic, like just something that you're thinking. So, you know, if you're just sitting somewhere and you're having a lot of thoughts and things are kind of coming into your mind, like you're just having a whole lot of ideas or a whole lot of thoughts, it's really easy to just dismiss this as just, I'm just sitting there having some thoughts. They don't mean anything. I don't know why I'm thinking that. And that can really be tricky. I'll be honest with you guys. I am claircognizant. That's one of my strongest forms of intuition, and I've always had it. And since I've always been like this, I'm just so used to it, or I was just so used to it, I literally thought it was just the way that I thought. I thought it's just the way that I processed information. It wasn't until I started to really research and understand that my intuition and my logic are strongly tied together. And that really is what claircognizant is. Your intuition and your mind, your logic is so closely tied together that you can almost feel like you're thinking your intuition. What exactly is claircognizant? It's just knowing things. So if you tend to just know things, if you can't explain how you know things, or sometimes if you say things and people are like, how did you know that? And you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. It's like you're just saying something without even thinking about it. What's happening is you are receiving downloads, or you're receiving intuition, and it's just processing through your mind, and you tend to think about it. You may write things down, or you just may speak it, but you're not even aware of what you're saying is an intuitive message. You don't necessarily it may not be like groundbreaking things you're speaking to existence. It can be something really simple like, oh, did you have orange juice, or did you stop and get some orange juice today, or something like that? And somebody could be like, how did you know I need orange juice? And you're like, oh, I just guessed it, or I don't know, I just felt like you needed orange juice. You know, it could literally be something very simple like that, but obviously it can be something bigger than that. But it's almost just kind of like knowing something happened, or knowing that someone is thinking about something or needing someone without a clear explanation of where you got that information. It's one of the most hardest ones to have because you really have to put in a lot of effort and learning to differentiate between what's just your own thought process versus intuitive messages that you may be receiving. Clairaudience. And clairaudient is just clearly hearing things. This one can sound tricky, but it's not as tricky as it sounds, because you're like, hearing things, like, that's crazy. I don't hear things. So this is, and if you've ever experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You will hear a voice, but it will not sound like it's coming outside of you, really. It will almost sound like it's originating within you, or you're hearing it like in your head or in your mind's eye, versus hearing people outside talking or hearing someone in another room. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds separate from your own distinctive voice, but it also sounds like it is within you or close to you at the same time. Like I say, if you've ever experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Another thing with these clairaudient messages is that they're not conversation. So it's not like you're sitting there having a whole long drawn out conversation with yourself. Clairaudient messages are usually short and sweet. They may be a couple of phrases down to 1 or 2 words, and it really gets your attention, right? So you can literally hear yes, you can literally hear go to the grocery store, you can literally hear now is not the time, you can literally hear look for the color red. Like, you know, it'll be something really short. The voice does not sound scary. It should not bring up a sense of fear in any type of way. The next one that we're going to talk about is Clairsentient. Clairsentient, or feeling, is receiving your intuitive message literally by feeling things. And this is really helpful when you are working with translating the wisdom of your body. Okay, so let's take a really basic one everyone has. It's a gut instinct. So sometimes if something is going on and you get a funny feeling somewhere, maybe a funny feeling in your stomach or a funny feeling in your head, you probably come to realize, when I get this feeling, something isn't right. It's something that gives you pause to know, like, I need to take a moment. I need to pay attention to my surroundings. Like I said, everyone can experience all or one of these at a time, at some time. And I think Clairsentient is really one that we're all familiar with, just getting a feeling somewhere that gives us pause or makes us think about something. When you learn to develop this, or as you build your relationship with this, you'll start to be able to feel feelings and then translate those feelings into deeper messages. And again, I'll give you an example. I often can feel or sense things around me or even coming from people. And what I start to do is take those feelings and develop a message around it. It's something that, again, you have to be patient with yourself. You'll have to learn to develop. But more importantly, you have to trust that what is happening to you is not just a fluke. It is an actual message. But more than anything, being clairsentient helps you to translate these own feelings within your body, even the wisdom of your body, when your body is trying to get your attention to tell you, hey, we need this, we need more rest, we need more water, we're getting sick. So to be able to have these feelings within your body and to translate them into something else. But then also when you're around other people, you can maybe have empathic messages, right? You can feel what other people are feeling and then start to understand what this feeling is. And one of those things when you work with this, like I mentioned, the word empath, is again learning to separate something that is happening within your body or within you versus something that you are pulling in from the outside world, meaning you could be feeling someone else's energy and knowing that, hey, this isn't my energy, this belongs to someone else. What's going on here? What message am I receiving right now? What is spirit or this person's energy field wanting me to know and understand about the situation or what's going on around? This one is one that everyone is really familiar with, clairvoyance. So typically when people talk about their intuition or intuitive messages or even psychics, they are really quick to say, oh, someone's clairvoyant. But clairvoyance is just one of the four clairs, okay? It doesn't necessarily just always mean you're psychic. Clairvoyance means seeing things, and being able to translate that as an intuitive message. Now, obviously, if you're seeing something, whether it's in a dream or in waking life, it's a clear understanding that what you're seeing may not be happening in real time. So you can be very aware that, hey, this is an intuitive message. That's why it's one of the popular ones, or one that people really are familiar with. Clairvoyance usually is like a little snapshot. It can even sometimes look like a little short movie, or like a little just short snapshot of something that's going on. It can be you actually seeing literal events as they are happening, or as they will happen in real life, but it can also come up as symbolism. So you can, in your mind's eye, see something, and it may not be literally what's happening, but it will represent something that will be happening. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say that you see yourself, you have like a vision, and you see yourself maybe standing in your front yard juggling. Okay, and you're like, okay, that's weird. What does that mean? Well, you may not be a juggler, and you may have no reason to be standing in your front yard juggling. But as time comes to pass, what could maybe happen is there may be something that takes place in your home and around your home that brings a sense of stability, or of instability, and it forces you to feel like you're juggling. Maybe a lot of things going on, a lot of situations popping up connected to your home and family. And so in that case, you saw this snapshot of exactly what was going to start happening to you. So it's almost like having to sometimes interpret a vision or a dream that you're having. Sometimes these messages can be actually what is happening or will happen, like right down to the location, the clothing. And so sometimes when you have a sense of deja vu, what you may be doing is recalling a vision or dream that you had, and then you find yourself in the waking world happening it, and that actually happening to you. Or this can also happen, like I said, it can come to you, and then you can interpret what this situation is, and it can be just useful information for you as you make a decision or have to deal with something. Once you understand your one or two dominant forms of intuition, I do encourage you to start to work on that, to build a stronger relationship and connection with your intuitive voice, so that you understand when you are receiving your intuitive messages, as well as how to translate them and apply that as useful information. This isn't about you being a psychic. This isn't about you being, giving readings and doing things like that. Understanding your intuition is understanding your inner guidance system, so that you can be a better service to yourself more than anything.